Their lies are catching up to them big time. You can only get away with this stuff for so long. This fraud is coming to an end. I'm telling you. When Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, lies and exaggerates and distorts a history that we all know, when she does this, we see right through it. And even those who may have voted for her, who may even still like her, are going to start saying, enough is enough. With you, with Biden, with your husband, and this whole Black Lives Matter scam. Now, Michelle was on one of the morning shows promoting yet another product. I think this is some cartoon show that she's got over there at Netflix. And, well, she went to the greatest hits.
Many of us still live in fear as we go to the grocery store or worry about walking our dogs or allowing our children to get a license. I mean, just imagine.
Aren't your girls driving?
They're driving.
Yeah.
But every time they get in a car by themselves, I worry about what assumption is being made by somebody who doesn't know everything about them. The fact that they are good students and polite girls, but maybe they're playing their music a little loud. Maybe somebody sees the back of their head and makes an assumption. I, like so many parents of black kids, have to, that the innocent act of getting a license puts fear in our hearts.
Would Malia and Sasha resist arrest? Would they? Forget about the loud music. Do they know how to talk to police? You've been surrounded by law enforcement now for 13, 14 years. The Secret Service, men with guns, some of them white men, have been protecting you. Malia and Sasha wouldn't know how to act. This woman, Michelle Obama, had a father, an intact family. He was a janitor. Did he tell her to be afraid of cops? Cops are better now than they were in the 1960s, right? Back when she was born, when she was growing up in Chicago, cops are better now across the board. They are. She got a scholarship to Princeton, a scholarship to Harvard Law School, and she's still venting about systemic racism. They're doing this for a reason, and I'm actually going to use a white man to demonstrate it. Bill de Blasio, mayor here in New York City, happens to have a black son. He's married to a black woman. Bill de Blasio used his son in a total scam. Said that since his son had to be afraid of cops, well, I had to have that special talk with him. They put a campaign video back when he was first running. It was amazing, and it went over a lot of people, but it was all a lie. But he kept at it. This line is about money and power.
There's something that sets me apart from all my colleagues running in this race, and that is for the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America. And I have had to have very, very serious talks with my son Dante about how to protect himself on the streets of our city and all over this country, including how to deal with the fact that he has to take special caution because there have been too many tragedies between our young men and our police.
The threat from police against young black men of color is minuscule, minuscule. We've showed you the statistics a million times on this show. They are exaggerating, they are distorting, they are sensationalizing, and they're doing it for political gain. Now, after, by the way, he sold that nonsense, he went on to ruin New York City. I mean, literally ruin it. Cops and community here in New York had a great relationship. When he came into office, the approval rating of the police department here was at about 75%, no matter what your race, no matter where you came from. And all of that is gone. All right, back to Michelle. What's next?
All those Black Lives Matters kids, they'd rather not have to worry about this. They're taken to the streets because they have to. They're trying to have people understand that we're real folks. And the fear that many have of so many of us is irrational, and it's based on a history that is just, it's sad and it's dark, and it's time for us to move beyond that.
Look at her talk down America. This is the country. White people made her first lady and her husband president twice, 2 terms. Again, she went to Princeton. Her husband went to Harvard. She went to Harvard. They have had a great life here in this country. They're now essentially suddenly telling us is systemically racist. How dare she talk down all of us? By the way, lots of people who voted for her husband twice did vote for Trump. They did. And that stuff about they have to take to the streets these Black Lives Matter kids. Did they have to do this? Do they have to intimidate even people of color? No, this is not about anything rational. This is about sometimes fun. Yeah, it's fun to riot. It's fun to loot. Urban historians and sociologists have known this for a long time. There's a classic book about all of this, The Unheavenly City, a big chapter in it. This is an academic book. It's considered a classic. Rioting, mainly for fun and profit. All right, one more from Michelle.
We have to talk about it more, and we have to ask our fellow citizens to listen a bit more and to believe us.
That means basically people not of color, shut up and listen. No, that is not going to happen. Now, you can fool the left, you can fool liberal elites, you can fool Gayle King, apparently, who's eating all of this stuff up and decoding Michelle for us.
It's very rare for the two of them to issue a statement about anything. They try very much not to get involved in a political way to speak, certainly against any party. They're very, very careful about that.
Yes, Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are very, very emphatic about not getting involved in politics. Here's Michelle at the summer convention. It is what it is. Michelle Obama, right. Very, very reluctant. But again, this stuff that they're saying catches on with the left. Listen to this conversation that they had right after the interview.
I thought what she said was very interesting when she said, you know, a lot of kids they don't want to be out there marching. They got other things they like to do.
Yeah, you know, she's right about that.
It's like they're marching because they're fearful.
They're marching because they're fearful. They're marching because they're fearful. I actually met that guy a couple of times. He's not crazy. But look, why is he saying this stuff? Literally, so he can stay on the good side of Gayle King. They're marching because they have to. They're marching because they have. Did they do this because they have to? You see, they're marching because they have to. They're marching because they have to. They have to steal people's food and get in their face and intimidate innocent people. They have to. All right, enough of that. One more comment from the post-Michelle interview that I thought was interesting. This guy.
You got to question your assumptions. I mean, if you're working in law enforcement, if you're that person behind somebody in a vehicle, you've got to ask yourself, is my first idea here my best idea about what's going on?
Hear that, everybody in law enforcement? Some guy named Tony, who works at Channel 2 here in New York, CBS, says you got to question your first assumption. All right, well, let's, man of experience, I'm sure, to say something like that, to tell law enforcement what they should do. Let's see here. He started writing at a place called Wayback Info in 2004. He worked there for a couple of years. Then he went to the Daily Beast. Oh, those guys, senior writer there. Random House. He wrote a book called The Last Pirate. I don't think that was about law enforcement. Went to NBC News for a couple of years, and he wrote there. And then they let him be on TV at MSNBC. So law enforcement, he must have picked up something about law enforcement over the years because he spoke with such confidence, and we actually gave him a uniform. So we'll call him Officer Tony from now on around here. And yeah, who are these people? Where do they get this confidence? Huh? He's going to tell law enforcement how to think. Don't trust your first impressions, cops. Back to Michelle. She's been protected by Secret Service now again for a dozen or so years. Protected everywhere she goes. Even post-presidency, she gets a great big entourage. And her husband, of course. You know, they made a documentary, and half of the documentary was them flaunting this status. They actually seemed to love it. And Michelle really likes having these guys around. Men with guns, law enforcement. She's even fascinated by the guns. Listen to this. This is from her film. She got many millions of dollars for this. It's called Becoming Michelle. Listen.
Everything okay, Alan?
Yes, ma'am.
One day I gotta sit, and see how the sausage is made. All the pre-stuff that goes into it, I'm just not a part of, But I always ask questions, I always want to know where the guns are. Because what if somebody really was trying to take me out? They'd take these two out first. I could get us to safety, Alan. You guys, I got you covered. I'm always thinking.
Where the guns are? It must be sweet to have security paid for by the government for you and your entire family. And wherever you go, you're safe. That's good for you, Michelle. But the rest of us, we have to rely on the police. All communities. All communities. White, black, probably black communities more than any other community in this country. And we care about them, apparently more than you do.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
Black lives do matter. And that's why I am so incensed that Michelle and her husband are not aggressively pushing a more positive message. How about complying with police? Don't resist. Live to see your day in court. I have to do it on this channel, Newsmax. I'm proud to do it, but it should be everywhere. It should be ubiquitous. And Black lives do matter. Apparently for them, for the Obamas, and for the far left, Black lives only matter when the life is black and it's taken by a white cop. Well, that doesn't happen very often, actually. It doesn't, comparatively speaking. This is happening all the time, though. Children being killed, children of color, by other young people, often children of color. One of them, DeVell Guard, 22 months old. Look at these pictures. He was shot and killed at a cookout a year ago. Now we bring this up because just this week, there has been an arrest. Now there was a horrible gunfight where this happened here in New York City in July of last year. Shots flying all over the neighborhood. DeVell, his family, they were gathered outside on the sidewalk, and the little boy was killed. We have a 25-year-old in custody at this point. His name is Deshaun Austin. There's his stroller. Mr. Austin, finally in custody after all this time, is the suspect. He was a member of something called the Hooli Gang. And the Hoolies have been, well, out of control here in New York City. But Black Lives Matter doesn't really talk about any of this, do they? They're only focused when the cops are involved and when that cop is white. And you know who doesn't like this at all? DeVell's grandmother.
And they talk about Black Lives Matter. How is mattering? I don't see the point. Shooting is still going on. People are still, doing crazy things out here.
DeVell, your life does matter. Your life did matter. And it's too bad that we will continue to lose children if this country doesn't get serious about some fundamental issues and we be finally, fully, and completely honest with each other. I'll be right back.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.